Good turn to negotiate, and then the long climb to the hill, and this is when you can't be too far off the pace, and this is when you need that second gear to win this £133,000 plus to the win. There's the favourite, Caerleon. Caerleon's first two starts this season were a shade disappointing, but they were on soft ground, which he didn't like at all. He came into his own on his third outing when winning the French Derby at Chantilly in the style of a very good horse, getting the better of L'Amagrand by 3 lengths. He was then aimed at the Irish equivalent, but found Sharif Dancer 3 lengths too good for him. A lot of people said that Pat Edery didn't shine on him that day. Well, I'm not a believer of that, because Pat had the run all the way in the race. He had him on the fence, but when he wanted to get out, 2 did come back at him a bit quickly. He had to check momentarily, and Sharif Dancer got first run on him. But when he had this lovely looking colt balanced, he couldn't make any ground on Sharif Dancer at all. Well, I think Sharif Dancer might prove later on to be the best, but it's going to take a pretty smart colt or filly to beat him today. Colours Care for His Highness the Aga Khan. This is the one that I think probably may give Caerleon most to do and might make him be second best today. Time Charter, the filly, was the best 3-year-old filly in England last year, winning the Masaka Stakes at Kempton, the Epsom Oaks, the Sun Chariot Stakes at Newmarket, and winding up a great season by defeating the colts in the Champion Stakes at Newmarket at the end of the season by no less than 7 lengths. Her first run this season was over 1.5 miles in the Jockey Club Stakes in April, when she just failed by a head to Pegback Electric. Has run once since earlier this month. That was in the Coral Eclipse Stakes at Sandown, where she finished 6th of the 9 runners, but she was only 2.5 lengths off of the winner, Salford. And that day the race was run at a crawl, and when they quickened up, this filly didn't quite have the speed, but when she shook herself clear of the rest of the field, she was really eating the ground up towards the winning post. Joe Mercer rides her for the first time, because Billy Nunes, her usual rider, had that horrific fall at home on the home gallops, and it's great to see Billy Nunes here today as one of the spectators. I'm sure Billy will be willing this filly on, because she really is a game type. Number 8, Time Charter. Willie Carson on Sun Princess. This brilliant filly has been tenderly trained by Dick Hearn and has only run 3 times in her career. Once as a 2-year-old when runner-up here at Ascot in September, but that was over 5 furlongs. Then she was put away, and she's run twice this season in the Sir Charles Claw Memorial Stakes at Newbury, where she ran 2 lengths second behind Ski Sailing, but she looked a little bit big in the paddock that time. With the 3rd filly on that occasion, Ziza, she was 25 lengths away back in 3rd place, so that was good form. She put in a brilliant performance in the Oaks at Epsom when running out a 12-length winner from Acclimatise to become perhaps the easiest Oaks winner for this century. But a lovely filly, and as I say, has been well trained by Dick Hearn. Willie Carson bid him for his 3rd win in this race, won on Troy in '79 and in 1980 on Alamanamoo. Nobody knows his way round Ascot better than this jockey. Number 13, Sun Princess. Number 10, let's have a look at him. This is Carlingford Castle. Carlingford Castle won his first 2 starts of the season. They were both at the Curragh, and he won brilliantly. And on the second occasion, he beat that very good filly, Give Thanks, by a length and a half. And on that form, it's no wonder he ran a good race in the Derby at Epsom. When he finished, he beat all, in fact, apart from Tinosa. He disappointed, though, in the Irish equivalent. The ground was much firmer, and he seemed to lose his action just down that little bit of hill at the Curragh, and he was well beaten by Sheriff Dancer, and he had to give quite a lot of ground away, I thought, when he changed his legs. But I think perhaps Greville's going to keep him up there today, and you'll see just how long this horse's stride is. A really good individual. That's Carlingford Castle. Number 3 in the background, that's Lancastrian, another one of the French invaders. This is Darman Shoal. He's improved considerably from 3 to 4 years and has started the season well with a fluent win in the John Porter Stakes at Newbury, beating subsequent Gold Cup winner Little Wolf. Since then he's won the Grand Prix d'Evry, the Grand Primo di Milano, and also the Grand Prix de Saint Cloud, beating 2 of today's runners, Lancastrian by a cheeky 3 parts of a length, with Lemmy Gold another length and a half away 4th. His defeats this year came in the Jockey Club Stakes at Newmarket, when 3.5 lengths 5th behind Electric, and then 3 lengths 4th behind Be My Native in the Coronation Cup at Epsom. Well, if there is one weakness with this horse, I think maybe it is that he perhaps doesn't show the turn of foot of some of the other runners, but he's a good galloper. He's 15 to 2 from 8 to 1 at the moment. He's got the brave Lester Piggott on his back, and Lester bid in for his 7th winner of this race. A lovely horse that I think anybody would love to own, running in the colours of Mr. Paul Mellon. Leicester won the last win in this race, was the Minstrel in 1977. There's number 4. This is Lemmy Gold. He's one of America's top horses and has won 6 races in the States, amassing $1,066,455. And as you see, he's getting on his toes a little bit. He was also voted the Eclipse Award champion handicapper of '82. He's run twice in Europe, and on his last start in the Grand Prix de St. Cloud showed that he was coming to hand, when after making all of the running stayed on to finish 4th behind Darmonshoal and Lancaster. I think this is one that Peter's going to be calling pretty early, because I think we'll see Freddie Head pushing him up there all the way, and probably he's going to cut the running out. Freddie ridden 50 winners in France so far this season, and has been champion of France no less than 5 times, and is reigning champion at the moment. Getting a little bit warm, Lemmy Gold. There's number 7, a Wasif, the mount of Bruce Raymond, a very good filly, and a really ran the race of her life in the Arc de Triomphe last year when running a really good turn. Nice filly, but just sweat up a tiny bit in the paddock. We've got a loose one there. In fact, Lemmy Gold has got ridden of Freddie Head, and I hope, my goodness, he's off now. And this is going to cause a delay, because he's got past the handlers and he's on his way back to the paddock, as you can see, and the reins actually have gone over his head. Let's hope he doesn't get his foot in those, and which is inclined to smash the bridle, because it's a fair poundage when a horse gets his foreleg. And I think he's going to be, oh man, I think he's going to be well stocked. And that was a brilliant piece of catching. And the back, most of the other 9 jockeys are beginning to come out. They don't really know. They're going back in. That was number 5, Rockamador, just gone in with Brian Rouse. But there you see Willie Carson dismounting Sun Princess to just rest this filly. Greville Starkey is also off Carlingford Castle. And there you can see Greville Starkey right down to his one of his lowest weights. He's doing 8.8 here, and you can just see by the size of the saddle that this was perhaps somewhat of an unexpected ride, because Greville can do 8.6 when he's trying. And there is Lemmy Gold on his way back to be reunited with Freddie. Freddie, I would say, rides as short as any jockey in Europe, and you can just see, or you on the saddle there, you could just see where the arm actually finished below the saddle. And if a horse does whip round with Freddie, there it is. That's the length of leather that Freddie rides with. And if you ever see one whip round with Freddie, Freddie usually parts company. I remember in the Arc de Triomphe a few years ago, the same thing happened on the way back after being successful. And the filly propped in front of the stands, and away went Freddie, but he managed to hold on to it. There is Freddie, nevertheless a very fine jockey, as I was saying, 5 times champion of France. And in fact, after today, he starts a 5-day suspension. 4-day, I should say. It's been handed out to him by the French stewards. There's Carlingford Castle, a really good horse. If he can handle this fast ground today, I could see him running somewhere in the first 4. That was no fluke in the Epsom Derby, went 2nd behind Tinoso. Lester Piggott just having a tiny little bit of trouble there with Darmonshoal. Lester, nobody has won this race more times than him. Gets a leg up onto the back. No weight trouble for Lester here, as Darmonshoal has 9 stone 7 to carry. A lovely Mill Reef colt this, and my goodness how his sire Mill Reef does stamp. Carepaw, number 2. There's no doubt that Carepaw has a lot of ability, but things haven't gone his way this season. In fact, he looked all over the winner of the Yorkshire Cup. That was back at York in May, when he ducked badly. When he looked like winning, he was coming to the front at the distance, and he ducked very badly to his right with a furlong to run. Nevertheless, he still finished, and he's playing up quite a lot, as you can see. He's a very temperamental colt, this. They tried blinkers on him at Sandown, but he resented the blinkers, so they've had to leave them off. And in the Princess of Wales Stakes at Newmarket, he ran the race of his life, I thought, when he just failed. But behind Quilted, he's a really good individual, but as I say, he can be inclined to be a tiny little bit mood. John Reed has won the race before on Ile de Bourbon, and he's just having a look. I think they might think that perhaps a horsefly, and they're underneath the trees over there, and this is inclined to hold them. Whether a horsefly hasn't got on him and stung Carepaw. He looks rather like it. He's unhappy about something. The starter is also walking across just to check on it. There he is, getting a little bit warm. A lot of ability, but he's just a tiny bit temperamental. Let's just see. They're trotting him up, and he's dropping that off 4 a tiny bit, off hind I should say. I'm just wondering if he hasn't kicked himself at the fly and just gave himself a crack, but it seems to be working off now. I think they might let him take his chance. Nice looking horse by Arctic Turn. And when you see John Reed remount running in the colours of His Highness the Aga Khan. There is Time Charter, a lovely filly this, by Sarah Tamer out of Centricon, who was by Highline. I thought she looked really well in the paddock. Joe bid him for his second winner of this race, won it on the great Brigadier Gerard in 1972. Still a little bit of trouble from Carepaw. Colours of Robert Sangster, Caerleon by Nijinsky out of the Round Table mare. Pat Edery keeping Caerleon walking around. He won this memorial race on Grundy in 1975 when Bastino and Grundy had the fight to the line all through the last quarter of a mile. What a race that was, and I think we're in for a humdinger here today, because I think these horses we're looking at now are probably the best 3- and 4-year-olds in Europe at the moment. There's the second colours of Sir Michael Sobel, the first being carried by Sun Princess. This is Lancastrian, one of the most consistent top-class older horses in Europe at the moment. He's run 3 times this season. In fact, we hear now that number 2, Carepaw, the mount of John Reed, has been withdrawn. Lancastrian goes into stall 9. Lancastrian, 6 years old now, but as tough as ever and never runs a bad race. Lester Piggott walks up to stall 8. Pat Edery still walking Caerleon around behind. And there you see Carepaw walking away after being withdrawn by permission of the stewards. There goes Sun Princess, the only 3-year-old filly in the race. She goes into stall 1. Caerleon and Sun Princess still joint favourites at 9-4. Time Charter at 5-1. 15 to 2 bar those 3. Lemmy Gold with Freddie Head reunited, and he's getting very upset. We noticed in the paddock just before the parade he was getting very much on his toes. I just wonder how he's going to negotiate the right-hand bends here, because in America he's usually travelling left-handed, or always travelling left-handed. His one good race in France of his 2 starts was in fact left-handed. When he ran at Longchamp right-handed, he put in rather a disappointing performance. Freddie getting a little bit of trouble off Lemmy Gold, but as you can see just how short Freddie rides. Well, I think he's going to be all right. He's going to go into stall 6. I think we'll see him early. Let's join Peter.
That's it, they're all installed, bar Carepaw, 9 runners, under starters orders, and they're away. Lemmy Gold just a little bit slow. Diamond Show going on from Abazif and Carlingford Castle and Rocamadour, and Lancastrian on the inside, and Lemmy Gold now pulling his way right up to the lead. And Lemmy Gold now going on the outside of Diamond Shoal. Abazif and Lancastrian just in behind them. Sun Princess very close to the lead. Then comes Caerleon and Carlingford Castle, who's been dropped back. Then Rocamadour and Time Charter as they race closely bunched down towards Swinley Bottom, with Lemmy Gold for America in the lead. From Abazif on the inside, Diamond Shoal is next, and then Sun Princess, then Lancastrian, then Caerleon. Behind them come Carlingford Castle, Time Charter, and Rocamadour as the back marker, and they're just passing the milepost now in the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Diamond Stakes, and Lemmy Gold is in the lead from Abazif on the inside of Diamond Shoal. Then comes Sun Princess, then Carlingford Castle coming back towards the leaders. Just in behind them come Caerleon and Lancastrian, then Time Charter, who only has Rocamadour behind her. They're past the 7 furlong pole and racing towards the 6 now, and Freddie Head still on Lemmy Gold from Lester Piggott on Diamond Shoal. Then comes Abazif, Bruce Raymond. Then comes Willie Carson on Sun Princess, with Pat Edery moving up on Caerleon on the outside. Then Carlingford Castle just in behind Carlingford Castle. It's Time Charter making a run now. Then Lancastrian, who's 8th and 9th, and last is Rocamadour, and Lemmy Gold is still in the lead as they pass the 5 marker and race towards the half-mile pole. And it's Lemmy Gold still from Diamond Shoal. Then Caerleon on the outside of Abazif. Then comes Sun Princess. Rocamadour is moving up towards the lead. Lancastrian's the back marker. They're racing towards the home turn now, and as they do so, it's Lemmy Gold on the inside of Diamond Shoal. Just in behind them come Abazif. Caerleon has lost ground. Sun Princess is making ground. Rocamadour is just off the lead, spinning round into the home turn, and it's Diamond Shoal and Lester Piggott who takes it up now from Willie Carson on Sun Princess. Then Time Charter unleashing a run on the outside. Caerleon is last. They're racing towards the furlong pole, and it's Diamond Shoal from Sun Princess and Time Charter. Diamond Shoal on the far side, Sun Princess in the middle, Time Charter still coming there strongly on the stand side. Time Charter with the advantage now on the stand side from Diamond Shoal, but green horse is Sun Princess. Time Charter with the advantage as they race towards the line. Joe Mercer's going to win it, and up the line, Time Charter wins it from Diamond Shoal, second, Sun Princess third, four was Awazif, and then came Lancastrian Carlingford Castle. Behind Carlingford Castle was Rocamadour, and then came Lemmy Gold, and tailed off last was the French Derby winner Carlian. And so the result of the 1983 King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Diamond Stakes. First, number 8, Time Charter, owned by Mr. Bob Barnett, trained by Henry Candy and ridden by Joe Mercer. Second was number 1, Diamond Shoal, owned by Mr. Paul Mellon, trained by Ian Balding and ridden by Lester Piggott. And third was number 13, Sun Princess, owned by Sir Michael Sabell, trained by Major Dick Hearn and ridden by Willie Carson. Fourth was number 7, Awazif. So Joe Mercer wins his second King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Diamond Stakes. And Time Charter, the heroine of the Oaks and the Dubai Champion Stakes, comes back to her sparkling best form to credit Henry Candy with his first triumph in this great race. Time Charter, ultimately the authoritative winner from Diamond Shoal, and Sun Princess with Awazif fourth. Here she is, the heroine of the 33rd running. Here's how she won it, reviewed by Julian Wilson.
Well, a marvellous race and full of sensations. On the first is Carlian being almost pulled up here about 2 furlongs from home. Lester Piggott had cruised to the front early in the straight and looked here as though he might hold on, because Willie didn't seem to be getting much response from Sun Princess. Awazif little room on the rails. Joe Mercer produces Time Charter on the outside, and the response wasn't immediate. But once Joe pulled his stick through, Diamond Shoal just comes to the end of his tether here. You can see him getting unbalanced as Lester pulls his whip through, and Time Charter answers the calls of Joe Mercer, sticks her neck out and forges to the front. Your heart must go out to Billy Newns, who's missed his big win. Well, what a marvellous way Joe Mercer seized his chance here to gain perhaps the last really big win of his career. A beautiful ride for him. Lester Piggott on the far sides enabled Diamond Shoal to run the race of his life, and Sun Princess a superb third.
Time Charter, the 5-1 winner, and as Julian said, rather a bittersweet moment for Billy Newns, replaced here by Joe Mercer. And rather ironical that both first and second were ridden by substitutes, because of course Leicester deputising for currently suspended Steve Cawthon on Diamond Shoal. Steve, who like Billy Newns, was here to see this great finish. Joe Mercer's 12th ride in the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Diamond Stakes, and his second triumph, and what a beautiful ride he gave this fine filly by Saad Tamer out of Centracon, produced in sparkling shape by tall Henry Candy there, who was just congratulating Joe. The official distance is 3/4 of a length and 1 length, and the starting price is as follows.
First, number 8, Time Charter, 5-1. Second, number 1, Diamond Shoal, 8-1. And third, number 13, Sun Princess, 9-4, joint favourite.